Coming up on Tech News today, Uber officially gets its new CEO. AI assistants are beginning to speak each other's language. Samsung's new Gear Sport smartwatch is unveiled, and we take a closer look at what Amazon's acquisition of Whole Foods could mean for employees and customers alike. All that and more coming up next on Tech News today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1843, recorded Wednesday, August 30th, 2017. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Grasshopper. Stay connected and run your business from your mobile phone with Grasshopper. To save $50 on your order, visit trygrasshopper.com/twit.
Hello. Welcome to Tech News
Hi.
Today. This is the show. I wasn't saying hi to you.
Oh.
I was talking to them.
Sorry. I misunderstood you.
Okay. Well, hi.
Hi. How's it going, Megan?
We're going to talk about tech news today. The stuff you might have missed or the stuff that you already heard about and you want to hear about again.
Yeah.
I'm Megan Maroney.
Because I'm Jason Howell, and we're going to dive deep.
Yeah.
That's why.
Even
you
if-
may have
yeah.
even heard of it before, but we're going to dive deeper than you heard of it.
We add the bling to the tech news.
Yeah.
TM.
Uber's board of directors. I like that. That's nice. Uber's board of directors voted, and we got a facepalm from Burke, so we know we did something right. Voted unanimously for Dara Khosrowshahi, longstanding CEO of Expedia, to be its new CEO last night. The decision came after the board spent a grueling 72 hours interviewing a few different people as options: HP's CEO Meg Whitman, GE CEO Jeffrey Immelt, and of course Khosrowshahi. And weighing all options, Immelt dropped out of the consideration on Sunday. Whitman apparently tried to push for more control, which would effectively have limited Travis Kalanick's involvement, and that ultimately sidelined her in favor of Khosrowshahi, who was eventually picked unanimously. Kalanick's statement wishes the new CEO well, saying that casting his vote was, quote, a big moment for me, and I couldn't be happier to pass the torch to such an inspiring leader. That was noble of him.
Yes, yeah, and they had a
Although
big...
he's on the board, so he also,
Right.
voted, obviously. So.
Yeah, but they had an all-hands meeting, and they were both there. They took a selfie with Ariana Huffington. They're all besties now.
Oh.
He's going to start September 5th, Khosrowshahi. And he said in the all-hands meeting there'll be an IPO. Uber will IPO within between 18 and 36 months. And Kara Swisher was there at the all-hands meeting, live tweeting it as she does. And her take was that the reason they chose him is that he was going to be the only one that's going to be able to stand up to Kalanick and the board.
Oh, interesting.
Because Kalanick's made these like overtures of like, I'm going to be the next Steve Jobs. I'm going to be back. And you know, he's not.
Yeah.
And that's basically that sort of founder myth is really different. Steve Jobs is not. I know Steve Jobs, and you are no Steve Jobs, Mr. Kalanick.
You're friends with Steve Jobs.
I'm not, and I wasn't when he was alive either. But I wish, and I sometimes dream that we were friends.
Yeah, I can understand that. He was a visionary, that's for sure. Kalanick, I mean, you know, he built up Uber to what it is. It's just he, you know, along the way made some bad decisions, and that's why he is where he is. Apparently, Meg Whitman was the forerunner. Like, there were rumors, I think, last month that Meg Whitman might be the pick for this, and she ended up kind of shooting down those rumors on Twitter, saying, yeah, you know, putting it to bed, essentially, but then got pulled back in and went for it really hard, and ultimately, you know, like I said, it was kind of her decision to double down and to say, hey, I want more control. Travis should be less involved with Uber as a result. And that was the deciding thing that made the board kind of be like, we don't know if how comfortable we are with that. And the focus turned to Khosrowshahi. And the board really wanted to bottle up that news and not let it get out. They felt like they owed it to Uber employees to keep it inside until Khosrowshahi actually accepted and everything. And of course, like minutes after that meeting happened on Monday, the news leaked, and So good luck on that one because it never stays in for very long.
No, yeah, I mean, you're very nice to say that Kalanick made some bad decisions because what he did was create an incredibly toxic culture
for sure.
that took a company that really disrupted something that needed disruption and changed the world. And, he ran roughshod over laws, just like horrible things, just knowing that someone had the woman in India who had been raped, someone had her medical records. He knew about that. He didn't do anything about it. So it's just, I hope that they can come back. But again, I'm using Lyft for the foreseeable future, and good luck to you, Khosrowshahi.
Good luck to you. Yeah, I mean, honestly, everything that I read, he wrote a very candid letter to his employees at Expedia. He said in the email, he said that he's scared from the perspective that he's been with Expedia for so long that he doesn't know what it's like outside of that place. But that, and we hear this time and time again, growth comes from those uncomfortable situations, putting yourself in a new situation. And, a transition like that can be very good for a person. And when you read through the email, it humanizes him to another level. At least it did for me. It made me really feel like Uber needed a level-headed grown-up in this role, and it really seems like he is that. So I'm very curious to see what he can do for the company. I think he's a good pick.
And here's a weird thing, and maybe I just didn't read the most recent news, and this also came from Kara Swisher, that they said at the all-hands meeting that, he's leaving Expedia to come here, but then there's been no actual official indication that he's leaving Expedia. That hasn't, he has taken the job as CEO of Uber, but there's been no announcement from Expedia that he's leaving there. So is he going to do a Twitter thing where Jack Dorsey is the CEO of Twitter and Square?
No, because actually shortly before we came to the show, Expedia did announce a new CEO.
Okay.
Their CFO, Mark Åkerström, is now the CEO of the company. So that's not going to happen. I don't know if he would have any other involvement outside of that, but I think pretty much his primary thing going forward is Uber.
Because usually I have this right into my vein Twitter.
Yeah.
But I turned it off right before the show. So
I try and do that too.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone should turn off their Twitter
vein.
Their Twitter straight into the vein. Turn it off every once in a while. Okay, you know that ancient proverb, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend"?
Heard that before.
Ironically, Siri has never heard it, and she better watch out because after a year of coordination, Microsoft and Amazon have formed a partnership that will allow Cortana and the Amazon Echo to work together in perfect digital assistant harmony or something like that. Later this year, the collaboration will allow you to access Amazon Voice services via Cortana on Windows 10 PCs. Android and iOS will come in the future. You'll also be able to access Cortana on your Amazon Echo, your Echo Dot, or your Echo Show. So if you depend on Cortana and you also have an Echo, this is great news. And if you depend on Cortana, please email me at megan@twit.tv because I've never met someone who depends on Cortana.
Ouch.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great. I've used her on my iOS device. Padre, who's granted, not a big digital assistant user, but he hates Cortana. Yesterday in our office, he called her bossy. And I got upset because I was like, would you call Siri bossy? Would you call Bixby bossy? That was the question because Bixby's the only male assistant. And his answer was, who's Bixby? So that was not much help. But this is interesting because there are things that Cortana does, help you if you're in the Microsoft ecosystem and you have all your appointments and all your mail is in Outlook, and she's can allegedly bring all that up. And if you have Cortana that you use on your mobile device, and then you'll be able to have all that be able to access that on your Echo Show at home. I'm wondering what kind of integration they'll have with the Echo Show, which actually has a screen. Will I be able to flip through my Outlook emails on there?
Hey, Echo, tell Cortana that I need to... Is that how this works? It's going to get really noisy and really confusing very quick. I mean, I think interoperability is a really good thing when you're... and especially as this whole kind of aspect of technology is building out and getting more popular and all these devices, it's already so splintered, right? There's already so many different players in the game. So making them interoperable on one hand makes a whole lot of sense, but on the other hand, it just kind of feels a little confusing too. Granted, there are things that each of them are good at. You know, each of them have certain strengths. Echo, I feel like, is really good at shopping, also very good for home control. Assistant's really good for search. Siri is good for, I mean, what would you say, Apple things? I mean,
yeah, like if I want to hear a certain song on Apple Music.
Siri's good for playing a song on Apple Music.
Or like, you know, she can read my iMessages. She can read my emails. Those, you know,
Siri's like that vein, direct vein into Apple control. Cortana, you know, I suppose the same could be said for Microsoft. So they have strengths individually, and interoperability makes sense from that perspective, because then you can use each of them for their individual strengths. But man, there's also a lot of overlap, right? There's also a lot of things that Assistant does, or that the Google Home does, that Amazon Echo also does as far as home control is concerned. So then as a consumer, I have to figure out, like, well, what am I using which one for out of the same device? Maybe it'll become clear at some point, but at least right now, it feels like it could potentially be kind of confusing and muddy. Yeah,
I mean, and we have the Echo Show and the Amazon Echo both in the kitchen, and then it's like, which do I use those for? It's confusing. Right. I mean, this makes sense because I think Bezos and Nadella just decided, you know what, we're stronger together than we are apart. This is, I mean, if I had to guess, they didn't answer my phone calls, but this came from Satya Nadella. You know, they're making lots of apps on iOS, lots of apps on Android. Like, he really has been changing the company into being more open. So this makes sense for them. I mean, wouldn't it be great if, you know, Google Assistant would work better on my iPhone? Or, you know, wouldn't it be great if they really had that kind of integration? But it makes sense for Microsoft and Amazon to team up against Google and Apple alone, you know, but it doesn't make sense ever for Google and Apple to team up against them. Right now, it doesn't.
Yeah, Google and Apple, I don't see that happening. I could maybe see Google opening up Assistant API to allow for more of this down the line. Google prides itself in being an open company as far as that's concerned. So I could kind of see that. I have a really hard time seeing Apple playing that game, but hey, companies can change just like people can change. I suppose anything's possible.
Yeah, but my favorite assistant is Google Assistant, which I use on the iPhone. And I don't know if it's because I think the breadth of knowledge, the things that it knows about me, and I just really like the interface. It feels like we're chatting.
Yeah, I would agree. Like a bottle of fine wine, Samsung gave the Note 8 a week to open up before announcing a few new wearable devices. By the way, if you give your bottle of wine a week to open up, it's not good anymore. Anyways, if you're into that sort of thing, the Gear Sport is a sportier iteration of the successful Gear S3 with a round 1.2-inch display, Megan. Also, Bixby integration and a rotating bezel for navigation through the Tizen operating system. That rotating bezel has been a key feature of the previous model of this watch, and a big reason why people actually love it a lot. As a fitness device, it has an improved continuous heart rate monitoring system, automated activity tracking, waterproofing, of course, and 4 gigs of onboard storage capacity for storing music directly to the watch. And they also actually announced an updated Gear Fit, the Gear Fit 2 Pro, which is kind of the smaller, kind of long rectangular, lightweight fitness tracker without a lot of the smartwatch functionality.
I'm going to say something crazy. Are you ready?
You don't like round smartwatches?
No. Oh. I like this round smartwatch. I think it does the round things. Like, my problem with it's not like I don't like round watches. Round watches are lovely. It's just that when the old ones, they looked like a smartphone, and then they had the flat tire thing, and things were cut off. Everything was supposed to fit in that square. But I think what they're doing here with it's called the Samsung Sport. What is it called? The Note Sport? The Gear Sport.
the
Gear Sport. I like what they're doing with the round. I like that round thing around, what did you call it?
The rotating bezel. Yeah.
I like the rotating bezel.
Yeah.
And I like those fitness rings. That's what Apple Watch does. And I'm addicted to them. So whenever I see them, I think, oh, you got to close those rings. So I like it. I think they've taken round to a new level. I'm going to say that.
Oh, wow. Round has evolved.
and I'm going to tell you something else I like about it, that they have, the fitness includes calorie counting, which is an issue that I've had because I think like calorie counting isn't cool anymore. People don't like to do it. It's hard and, entering in all the foods, MyFitnessPal, et cetera. But I think it's essential to being healthy. I think that what you eat and how much you exercise go together, and you can't do one without the other. And I think it's really important. With the Apple Watch, it's kind of like, okay, well, I burned all these calories, but you have no idea that, I ate a bucket of French fries. So like you're giving me a congratulations, but it's not the whole story. Yeah. So it looks like it has calorie counting. I don't know how they're doing it. It looks like you have to enter the number of calories. So that's never fun. Like trying to guess what that salad you just made yourself, how many calories that is. And it's like, well, I might as well, eat some sort of food that came out of a bag because it tells me how many calories. Right. That's not healthy. So I like this. I am pro Gear Sport.
Yeah, it looks nice. And it's running Tizen. It's not Android underneath, which, Samsung for the most part has moved towards Tizen. They've found a good fit for the Tizen operating system. They tried it in phones. That didn't work so hot, but it really has been working for their smartwatches and allows them to kind of stand out from Android Wear devices, which, some would have seen as a feature, the fact that Google locked down the Android Wear interface so that really manufacturers could only differentiate on hardware and the software was the same. Samsung can do a little bit of both. They can play in both worlds and, of course, also tightly integrate it into its own devices, which Samsung always loves to do. Bixby's on here. There isn't Assistant because it's not running Android, but you do have the Bixby Assistant on here to integrate, that experience as well.
So that one that we're looking at now on the screen is going to be about $200?
Yeah, so this is the Gear Fit 2 Pro, the smaller version. It's around $199, I believe. We don't have a price or availability for the Gear Sport, but the Gear S3 is around $349. Gear Fit 2 Pro is $199. So somewhere in there, that's a wide price range, about $150 price range swing there, but somewhere in that range, be my guess.
Well, people who ordered Andy Rubin's Essential Phone are not getting their devices on time, but they did get an email asking them to send their driver's license. According to The Verge, people who replied automatically to this email sent their identification to everyone else on a large email list. The Verge claims that replies went back to Essential, not to a scammer, and that it was a misconfiguration on Essential's part. The official Twitter account earlier today said Essential is looking into it, but Scooter X in the chat room a little while earlier posted a link to a note from Andy Rubin. One of the most important jobs of a founder is to recognize when things aren't going quite right and make the necessary decisions and take action to correct them before customers are impacted. Founders are often faced with thousands of micro decisions daily to keep their companies laser focused on delivering products into the right markets at precisely the right time. Yesterday, we made an error in our customer care function that resulted in personal information from approximately 70 customers. So not that many, but better than 0 customers getting their driver's license shared with other people would be better. Being shared with a small group of customers, we've disabled the misconfigured account and have taken steps internally to add safeguards against this happening in the future. We sincerely apologize for our error. That's nice. It's nice. There's more. I'm not going to read it all, but he does. It's nice that he apologized. And 70, that's no good if you sent your driver's license out and it got sent to a small group of people. But, people make mistakes.
Yes, people make mistakes. Companies make mistakes. OnePlus is another kind of upstart from a few years ago that made some very questionable marketing decisions that consistently, time and time again, they had great hardware. They were new to the industry, and they had a lot of, they made big claims and purported to be able to back it up, and so they had a lot of buzz around it. But they made really poor marketing decisions that really offended people along the way, and they had to kind of regain that trust over time. And I would say at this point, 3-4 years on, they've really righted that ship and made changes to kind of improve how they do that. So it's not impossible. Samsung, we just saw them right the ship, right? Like not many people are talking about the Note 7 debacle, and that seemed like a really big deal last year. Yeah. So there are ways to do that. It's just kind of unfortunate. Essential has been since being announced has made a decent amount of errors, and individually they probably don't add up to much. They really fall into the area of making promises or making claims like we're going to have it shipping in 30 days, and then you don't hear anything for a month and a half, or we've taken your credit card and we're going to begin shipping a week later, still no shipping confirmation, no word at all from Essential, even though they've charged your credit card. Little things like that add up from a customer perspective. And then this, I mean, I saw many comments here of people that had pre-ordered, hadn't been charged yet. And they're like, yeah, if a company's, getting this wrong, then I kind of don't think I want to support them. I mean, but why are they asking for driver's license photos? I don't understand that.
Well, they didn't send it to everyone. Obviously, there were more than 70 people who ordered the Essential phone. Leo ordered it. He didn't get this email. That's a really good question. Companies really shouldn't do that.
No, and I mean, somebody at Essential should have understood that in this day and age, we are so vigilant, or we're taught to be so vigilant on the emails that we receive and the information that we share via email, which in many ways can be somewhat insecure. Like if you're making that request, have some really great information and maybe do it in a way that doesn't rely on the customer to email it, because that's how these things happen in a phishing attack or whatever. So we're trained to look for that. Set up a portal. If you really have to have it, set up a secure portal. People type in that email, that URL address, and do it securely online. Don't do it through an email. It's just really weird. Like it seems like a basic rule that was broken here, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, and the bummer of it is that people are really desperate to get this phone. They really want to get it. And so that is prime. That's why so many people thought this was a phishing email, because it's like, oh, I really want my phone. I'll send you whatever. You want my firstborn child? Take it. I want that phone with no logo on it. And so, yeah, it doesn't make, and to be fair, it's probably not someone at Essential. It's probably a third-party company that they, to do shipping and all of that. I'm not saying it doesn't mean it's not Essential's fault, because they're the ones that hired the company, but it's probably not, like Andy Rubin's assistant that sent out an email asking for credit for driver's license numbers. But
yeah, they are, by the way, Essential is offering anyone that was affected by this 1 year of LifeLock security and monitoring and everything. So at least there's that. Andy Rubin said in the email, or in the letter, as Essential's founder and CEO, I'm personally responsible for this error and will try my best to not repeat it. So
they botched the launch of this phone. They botched it.
In a few different ways, yes.
Yeah.
I would absolutely agree.
Leo, his credit card's already been charged, and
exactly.
And he doesn't even know when it's coming, and it's like, okay, well, there's too bad, it's fine, but it's kind of sad, because there are we do want to see more people, more smartphones, more choices for people.
Yeah, more companies rise to the top. And yes, ScooterX pointed out, and I did read this somewhere, that those that were contacted had some sort of an issue with a credit card not going through. I'm just saying, I've had that happen before, and I've never been asked for a photocopy of my driver's license. So that's weird. Anyways.
No company should ever ask you for any personal information through email. It's like you said, they need to set up a link to go.
Yeah. Something different. Yeah, that's just weird how they've approached that. Coming up, and as Burke said, it's a rookie move. Yeah. Coming from a non-rookie, by the way, Andrew Rubin. Anyways, coming up, how the Amazon acquisition of Whole Foods could affect the many workers employed by the grocery chain. But first, let's take a minute to thank Grasshopper. They're the sponsor of this episode of Tech News Today. Grasshopper is a virtual phone system that's designed for entrepreneurs. And Grasshopper actually works just like a traditional phone system, but in this case, it requires no hardware purchase. With their iOS and Android app, callers can reach you wherever you are on your mobile phone. You already have the hardware. Grasshopper allows you to keep your existing number so you can maintain your brand. When you make a call, your client will see your Grasshopper caller ID instead of your personal phone number. You simply select a toll-free or a local number. You can record a custom greeting, add multiple extensions for your business. Toll-free numbers, of course, when you see a toll-free number, it's great for marketing. It makes your business sound even more professional. You can do that here. Set up department and employee extensions with custom call forwarding to any phone in the world. You can also get voicemails emailed to you as audio attachments, so you can kind of keep in that environment for previewing voicemails if you like. You can also send and receive SMS text messages from your business number. Join the over 250,000 Grasshopper customers today. Plans start at just $12 per month, and you have a 30-day money-back guarantee to check it out. So turn your smartphone into a business line with Grasshopper. To save $50 on your order, go to trygrasshopper.com/twit. That's trygrasshopper.com/twit. And we thank Grasshopper for their support of Tech News Today.
All week, we've been talking about the cheaper avocados and the humanely raised Echo Dots at Whole Foods that have come as a result of the company's acquisition by Amazon. But what's going to happen to the over 100,000 employees of Whole Foods now? Joining us to discuss the implications of the merger is Dr. Paul Warner, who has a PhD in clinical and industrial organizational psychology and specializes in understanding the psyche of both employees and consumers. Thanks for joining us, Paul.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
So you're a consulting psychologist. Let's start by, can you just explain what exactly that means?
You know, what my role is to add some science to both the workplace and also in trying to understand consumers as well. You know, if people, anytime they visit a store or, interact with a product and try to evaluate that product, what we're really trying to measure there is some sort of psychological construct. So my role is to help organizations understand really what their employees are thinking and also what their customers are thinking as well.
So is that kind of the same science as, like, we know that Apple opens stores and they have all their products out because someone told them, someone like you told them that, if someone touches something, they're more likely to buy it. Is that the kind of science we're talking about?
Yes, that's part of the science that we're talking about, but it's also looking at the intentions that people have. And basically the idea is that if people have certain beliefs and intentions, it will naturally lead to action. So if someone, for example, indicates that they would recommend a brand or a product to their friends and family, the theory is that they would be more likely to return to that product or to that brand, and also spend more as well. So it's almost trying to predict human behavior, from both an employee and a consumer perspective as well.
So I know when Amazon first announced that they were considering buying Whole Foods, there was a lot of head scratching because Whole Foods is known as this company that really works for the employees. Employees love to work there, and Amazon is not known for that. In fact, they're known for the opposite. And so when it was first announced, John Mackey, who's the CEO of Whole Foods, said that they had prioritized employees over customers, and that was going to change after the merger. What do you make of that? It was an interesting statement because there's a real mythology around the idea that you have to choose one or the other, customers versus employees. I think his statement suggested that there was more investment in employees than possibly the actual customer experience. But really what we have found with both our clients and also in my experience is that it is not a zero-sum game, that you can focus on both customers and employees. One does not have to undermine the other. So it'll be interesting to see this merger as it takes place, to see where they rotate. Is it more towards the customer experience, or will they continue to show their strength around the employee experience? If you've looked at all at Whole Foods and some of the the employee responses that they have, they really do provide a good experience for their employees. Now the real test will be to make sure that they are providing what their customers need and expect, but also expanding their customer base as well, and not sacrificing the employee experience in that process.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a Whole Foods customer for years, and one of the things that I've actually really appreciated, because I've known a lot of people that have worked at Whole Foods over the years and everything, and then you go in there and you see it as well, is that the people that work there actually genuinely enjoy working there. At least the folks that I've met and I've known that have worked there, that's been the case. How would you say a potential brand shift towards a focus away from, or a focus away from the employees and towards the customers? I mean, how could that affect the brand for the people who are very used to what Whole Foods has been? What would the impact be?
Well, Yeah, I think you will have an attrition of some of their loyal customers. To what degree, time will tell. But really, what is important is that they need to retain that strength of that one-on-one human interaction. When you go into a Whole Foods, it's not just about price and product availability. It's really about that human interaction where you're asking about the right cheese to pair with wine or the right cut of meat to purchase. And so it's going to be really critical for them to retain that strength, and also for Amazon to capitalize on that strength, to make sure that, yes, with technology, they're trying to decrease the amount of effort that customers are required to take to purchase, Whole Foods goods, but also, allowing them to have that one-on-one interaction. I think that's going to be an interesting test to see how they do with these two cultures merging.
And what about the Amazon stores that we've heard of that they're testing now with Amazon employees, where you just walk right out without paying anything? They just scan something inside your phone and know what your credit card number is and what your Amazon account is. How do you think that Whole Foods is going to deal with that, and how do you think employees feel at that point that they might in the near future be automated out of a job?
Well, it's interesting because if you look at the Amazon retail model, you have a certain amount of floor space or real estate that products are competing in, and therefore you have to really understand what your customers want. So with that automation, with the data that you're gathering from your employees, you're really personalizing the experience for them, so that when they walk into that retail environment, they have the products that consumers need. But with automation, what is really misunderstood is that it's a great opportunity for different types of job roles. I mean, we've been talking about automation and the loss of jobs to automation since the Industrial Revolution. And really what automation has done is actually created more jobs. So the key is that Amazon and Whole Foods should be very transparent with their employees about what it means for them. But the reality is that this will open up new, different types of jobs for both Whole Foods and Amazon employees as well.
So getting back to the psychology of it, I mean, I've been thinking a lot about Amazon because I just think that they sometimes know me better than I know me. And
scary, isn't it?
And, what I'm likely to buy through my Amazon Echo because I don't want to think about it anymore. And but I still do shop at Whole Foods. And I think for me and for other people, I joked about the, humanely raised Echo Dots, but there was just a big pile of Amazon Echoes like right in front of the produce. And it was a little disconcerting because I think the way that Whole Foods works, as I understand it, is that they really work very hard to make the grocery store a place where you really want to be. You feel comfortable. It feels like you're walking through a garden, picking fruit off the vine.
Feels like you're socially conscious. Like, you know what I mean? They picked their fruits and vegetables from local farms and everything. And then those dots totally go counter to that, it seems.
Right. Like. And, even though like Safeway and, a lot of places have, sort of, had where you could go and, order online and pick up. They really haven't done much of that. So what's going to be the effect of being owned by an Amazon on that? I'm just walking through the field picking grapes off the vine.
Yeah. So to the psychology of this, really when consumers make purchasing decisions and when employees behave in a certain way, oftentimes it has to be in line with their own personal identity. So, you talk about the being socially conscious, environmentally conscious. That's part of who someone is and their identity. And so it may feel disconcerting, I think, initially for a lot of consumers that go in and see an Echo Dot there right next to the organic avocados. But what the real test will be for Amazon to try to integrate the variety of products into people's personal identity. A lot of consumers, I mean, Amazon has been wildly successful because what they've done is they've personalized the experience. So when you're purchasing something from Amazon, it's like they know you, often better than you know yourself. And they will have to replicate that kind of experience and of course, be really trying to gather data from consumers as they go along to see if certain products do fit in with their identity. Because if it doesn't, you are going to lose part of that loyal customer base.
Well, as for the employees, I know we reported earlier that there was some people had seen the Amazon logo being stamped in meat in some of the stores. And we had an argument here in the studio about, like, that looked like Amazon sent a mold out and made them. But it appears, according to reports, that this was hand molded by employees. So would you take that as a sign that these employees are happy to be owned by Amazon?
Well, I don't know if it's a direct sign that they're happy, but I think it is a sign that they're creative and innovative, and it's a sign that someone has a very good sense of humor as well. The real what this does indicate that the employees are very acutely aware of what is happening within the company and how they feel about that, whether it's they're using that as irony or if they're happy about the acquisition. I won't guess, but it is going to be very important for both brands to be transparent with their employees and make sure that, again, they're retaining their strengths, because Whole Foods has created a great environment for employees to strive, and they need to continue to do that. Amazon can also learn a lot from Whole Foods as well, and especially as they're venturing into this new retail space. And one of the key things that we have found in working with some of the world's best brands is that those organizations that listen to their employees, not just on how they feel about their jobs and whether or not they're satisfied and happy with their work, but if they ask them for their ideas around products, around the way that things are done, around processes, employees seem feel a lot more valued and are a lot more loyal. So this is really an opportunity for both Amazon and Whole Foods to tap into that, those frontline employees and gather their perceptions around the changes, rather than just looking to decipher what kind of logos they're putting in the meat.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for joining us. This is fascinating. I'm fascinated with brands these days. I bet you have some really great stories. Paul Warner is Vice President of Consumer and Employee Insights at InMoment, and Paul Warner on Twitter. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. We really appreciate it. All right, feedback time. Kevin from Ohio writes, this week you talked about the new Fitbit smartwatch. Was that the Ionic, I believe is what it's called? And how the battery life was something like 10 hours with GPS. And you joked how if you can't finish a race in 10 hours, you should stop anyway. My girlfriend actually just participated in the Burning River Endurance Run. She ran 50 miles, and it took just over 14 hours to complete. Some folks who ran the 100-mile option, were out for upwards of 28 hours. Granted, of all my friends who are into these epic races, not one of them uses Fitbit tracking, including me. They simply don't compete with the likes of Garmin and other Ironman and ultramarathon level sports devices. And I imagine those sports devices on that level are not like smart devices necessarily. They're more, or are they?
Garmin has been has had GPS in it for a long time, like a decade at least. So they've been smarter than your average smartwatch. They don't. I mean, you can't probably respond to Twitter on most of them or anything like that.
Right? Yeah.
They're smart in this one particular way.
Like the Garmin Forerunner is one that I'm looking at right now. Is $300. So similar price range.
Yeah. I think. I had a conversation with Kevin who sent this email, but I was like, what do you like to use? Is it better than the Apple Watch? Because I've been considering that. I've been considering Garmin for a while. And, as we talked about earlier, the new fitness watches from Samsung, if you're going to be running 100-mile races, then you're probably not, a Fitbit and an Apple Watch is not going to really do it for you. Yeah. And that is insane. I don't, we were down in the Marin Headlands going across the Golden Gate Bridge, and there was one of those 100-mile races. And the people are just like, they're normal looking people. They don't look like Superman. It's just, it's mental at some point, I think.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly it.
And by mental, I mean that. Mental.
And a lot of training.
TNT's fan of the day is Daniel, who emailed this picture saying, enjoying some TNT with my 3-year-old bear via the Twit app on Apple TV. He has a lab, pit bull, chow chow, Shar-Pei mix, or so the adoption papers said. We can't really see him because of the thing. There he is.
Oh.
I would love to see how big he is. Because Shar-Peis are small, aren't they? I don't know what a Shar-Pei is, but
I think Shar-Peis are kind of small, no? Yeah.
He's awesome. And thanks for taking our advice, including a picture of your dog.
Oh, we have more. The last request pulled in a few of these, so we've got more for the next few days.
Just record a picture of your dog or you or a video. Take it, post it. You know how to do it. How I Watch TNT, and we will find it.
Oh, yeah. Shar-Peis aren't really that big. I mean, they're not tiny either, but they're not that big. They're the ones with really super wrinkly faces. They're like wrinkled all over. They're actually pretty adorable. If you've been putting off your comment either for or against net neutrality on the FCC's Restoring Internet Freedom Plan that is likely to dismantle rules devised back in 2015, then you better get busy and like right now. And honestly, only really if you're watching live or you listened shortly after it was published, because the official deadline for comment is tonight, 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 a.m. Eastern. But who are we kidding? To date, 21.9 million comments have been given, 21.9 million. 89% of those that fall into the pro-net neutrality camp are duplicates. 99% in the anti-net neutrality camp are also duplicates. So there's been some serious gaming of the system by people with mad script skills, yo.
Well, so are they duplicate comments or are they duplicate people that are sending the comments?
Duplicate comments, as far as I could tell. I don't know if it's duplicate people. That's actually a really good question, because if it's duplicate people, then you throw all those out. If it's duplicate comments, sometimes that's how people mobilize. It's like...
Right. That's not gaming the system, because a lot of websites said, like, here, cut and paste this if you support, which... this wasn't, like, no one's actually going through this, and this is just public comments, and no one's reading them.
Exactly. Which, hey, go do it, Take it into your hands. Not going to do it.
I'm sure there are people that are reading it. So there was a study by, I don't know if this is the same data that you got by Imprada, and they had they said that 98.5% opposed the repeal, and there were 1.77 million anti-repeal non-form letters. So that's the way they described it. So someone who really was like, hey, dude, I really want net neutrality to stay around because I want my Netflix because I like to Netflix and chill. Thank you so much. And then there was someone else who said, I want net neutrality gone because I want a free internet, that sort of thing.
Right.
You get the idea.
And everybody else just wrote out a form letter or whatever.
So there were 1.77 million anti-repeal and 24,000 for the repeal. So there were a lot more non-form letters anti-repeal. So pro-net neutrality non-form letters beat anti-net neutrality non-form letters.
My brain hurts.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, it matters because you speak your piece. That's what matters.
And, you're kind of answering to yourself, too. If you really feel strongly about this and you don't do something or you do something about it and leave a comment, maybe in the grand scheme of things, it might not be the thing that makes all the difference, but you feel a little better about yourself knowing that you stood to your convictions, Hey, there you go. The more you know.
But I do think that I like if all you can do is a form letter, do the form letter. But I do think that it is appreciated, and we see people actually. Someone read this in Prada.
I would imagine so, because there probably has to be a little bit more. I mean, if they can detect all the form letters and group them together, that's all of those letters that they actually don't have to do anything with. That just becomes a single category of like, we got X amount of these forms. Anything else, and I imagine. I mean, I don't know the process of it, but I would guess there's a little bit more intent there, right? You actually have to go in and see what they say when they're not grouped into this gigantic group together. They become more individualized, and it kind of forces action a little bit. Tabulation, as it were. Thank you, Burke.
Oh, I was just going to say that if you do, I don't know if there is a phone number to call about net neutrality, but in terms of political action, calling really does matter. If you can get an actual person on the phone, or you can leave a voicemail to express your side, that really does make a difference. People really pay attention to that these days.
Yeah, for sure. After the comment period ends, FCC is going to take a look at these responses, and they say they're going to make adjustments to the proposal as they see fit based on that. Next scheduled meeting is September 28th, although that's unlikely to be the date at which the vote actually takes place. So that'll happen somewhere down the line. So this is going to stretch on for a while longer.
Forever.
And ever. TNT records live every Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 2300 UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us, tnt@twit.tv. Leave us a short voicemail at 260-TNT-SHOW. And find us on Twitter. We're at Tech News Today TV.
And I am also going to be on the Screensavers this weekend for my digital cleanse. This is week 4 of our 10-week digital cleanse. You can still join us. It's only about 3 or 4 minutes. It doesn't take up that much of your time, and it's all on YouTube. And if you want to tweet at me with your digital cleanse tips, do so at Megan Maroney.
And I'm at Jason Howell. Thanks to Kevin, our technical director today. Thanks to Burke for helping in the studio. Kevin, are you editing? Thanks to Kevin, our technical director and editor today. And thanks to you for talking tech with us today. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.